Hey folks, Jack Spirko here with the first episode of Miyagi Mornings. That's what we're going to call it. And I'm just going to kind of give you an overview of what it's going to be today. And I'm trying to commit, at least through the end of the year, at least I should say till my winter shutdown. I shut down from Christmas to New Year's every year and spend it with my family. At least till then, this will be a daily segment. This idea came up during the workshop I just did at my property here. And my students come here. We had about 80 total people here this time, and they come here and they always leave inspired with things that they want to do, and they always leave me feeling inspired. This year, I think because, over the last year and a half, I really reclaimed my health, dropping over 60 pounds, and I, made a concerted effort, as much as I enjoy being with people, to go to bed at what I consider a reasonable hour during an event like that, like 1 o'clock in the morning. I think maybe I got more out of it this time, and the mix of people we had was really good. And I left incredibly inspired, specifically by the talks of two people with a feeling that I need to be doing more. Not necessarily more for me and my family and my backyard, but more for y'all. That I just needed to put more out there and put more effort. That, I spent 12 and a half years gaining the influence that I have, and then that is an incredible amount of power that you have when you are an influencer today. You can be just a redneck hippie duck farmer, but if you do things right for long enough, you get to the point where you actually can influence things. Maybe you don't change the world, but you can change the world for people. And to me, that's a responsibility, and it needs to be effectively used. So I'm going to try to exercise through that. The other thing I'm going to be trying to accomplish is, as the cat joins us, I keep hearing this shit, MeWe and Parler are just right-wing conspiracy echo chambers and stuff like that, A social media, and that's kind of the subject of today's topic as well, but a social media platform is nothing but like a service that you communicate with other people on. In some ways, it's not much different than what a phone was in 1980. You picked up the phone and you called somebody. If you called your crazy Uncle Lou that was a 1984 version or 1986 version of Alex Jones, you got conspiracy theories. If you called your cousin Dan, who was a right-wing Republican shrieking about Reagan, then that's what you got. If you called somebody that was a left-wing liberal, then that's what you got. Most of the time, you didn't do any of that shit. You called your friends to talk about things that you found interesting. And it's probably the case that politics were a fairly small component of the times you picked up the phone and called somebody. Now, if you're my age, you were a little kid, but think about your parents, right? Your parents, when they got on the phone in the 1980s, they didn't sit there shrieking with each other, especially long distance when it was a quarter or 40 cents a minute. Like when somebody called long distance, man, you dropped what you were doing and you talked to them. Today we're spoiled. We can talk to anybody that we want about anything that we want, anywhere that we want, with no consequences. That's why there's so much politics in these discussions today. Because you can tell somebody off, you can say things to them that you'd never say to them in their face, and then you can avoid getting punched in the head, right? So that's why it's that way. So I'm doing this to provide content to places like Parler and MeWe and any other place that I want to go, because let me say something else about this. I kind of feel like this whole shit about, well, what if they, or what if they do this, or what if they do that? I look at that like back when I used to have a job, and I'd be looking for a job, and a boss would tell me anything that was remotely threatening to my job. I would take that shit. They're either going to do this, and you don't want me here, and I'll go somewhere else, or I'm going to take that little threat away from you. And I would just simply say, I was looking for a job when I found this one. Now, changing a job, especially if you lose one, you need one right away, and I was broke back then, has consequences. But I was fearless with it. You know what? Never happened. I never said that once, and well, then get out of here. Now, I would have left, right? It's a lot easier to just say, I'm not going to spend my time on Twitter. I'm going to spend it on Parler. I'm not going to spend it on Facebook. I'm going to spend it on MeWe. And if you don't want it to be about politics, then don't talk about politics. When you get on freaking Parler, don't immediately follow Fox News, the Bongino Report, and Tucker Carlson if you don't want to hear about politics. And then bitch that it's all about politics. Get on there and look for hashtag TSP Friends. Find people there. I'm going to keep putting this stuff out so we can talk about it. Now, I do want to be clear about one thing with Miyagi Mornings. Actually, two. I'm going to keep it under 7 minutes. I thought 5, but 7 seems right to me. But when I say no politics, it doesn't mean we won't talk about liberty. Right now we're talking about social media platforms. And you could make that political if you want to. Like, that's the other fucking problem. Oh, by the way, I'm going to fucking cuss in Miyagi Mornings. The other problem that we have is that everybody wants to make everything political. You say something and somebody ties it to politics. Like, if you don't want that in your conversation, don't do that shit. So we'll talk about liberty, but that's not political. We'll talk about the freedom that a garden gives you. That's not political. There's so many things that we'll talk about that if you want to bend over backwards to make it political, you'll be able to do that. But I want to kind of start another trend. How about this? How about all y'all start posting shit on Parler that are on Parler? If you don't quote crying and whining and bitching in the comments, you like Parler. Well, then don't. You're not included. If you're on Parler, hashtag no politics. And not against politics, just this post doesn't have it. MeWe, hashtags work too. Hashtag no politics. Just hashtag no politics. So when people say, they don't think anything is not politically right-wing echo chamber, you can just go there and click on this tag. Anyway, if you guys want to participate in this, send me an email, jack@thesurvivalpodcast.com. Put Miyagi Mornings in the subject line and tell me something you want to talk about. And don't tell me any political bullshit, because I'll delete your email. With that, kept it well under 6 minutes, this first one. And we will be coming at you with Miyagi Mornings at least every day up until our winter shutdown. And I have a feeling we'll be going to 2021 too. Might get pretty damn cold out here though, we'll see. No microphone today. It wasn't working. I didn't have time to fix it. That's the other thing about Miyagi Mornings. Whatever it takes, it's going to happen. Catch you later.